I'm Nick Snow, watching Government for Oil and Gas Journal in Washington, D.C. From the outset, the discussion's question seemed provocative. Can the world live without Iranian oil? Panelists at the December 5th event at the Atlantic Council agreed that global prices haven't shot up because the country's production has fallen so far in recent years. But the full answer, not too surprisingly, was much more elusive. Economic sanctions have substantially hurt Iran's oil operations, noted Sarah Vakshuri, president of SVB Energy International, an information technology company who grew up in Iran. The country's entire energy sector lacks investments in technology, she maintained. Without this, it will be hard for Iran to recover the production it has lost, she said. Last summer, the Congressional Research Service predicted that Iran's production would fall to 3.3 million barrels a day by 2015, according to Barbara Slavin, an Atlantic Council senior fellow and the panel's moderator. It's already happened, she said. Iraq's, meanwhile, is increasing. Iran may have a more highly educated workforce than its neighbors, but government bureaucracy and growing domestic demand undermine efforts to exploit the world's fourth largest proved reserves, Vakshuri said. I don't think Iran's production can drop below 800,000 to 1 million barrels a day, she said. Countries aren't using as much energy. There's also a union of customers against Iran, which want U.S. State Department waivers. They're trying to push for discounts, but Iran is resisting. Vakshuri acknowledged that growing unconventional production from U.S. tight oil formations is affecting global markets and pushing prices lower. It costs $50 to $65 a barrel to produce U.S. Bakken crude, but if prices drop below $70 a barrel, around 20% of the expected resources worldwide won't be developed, she said. Iraq remains Iran's biggest rival, but has problems of its own, observed Denise Natali, who holds the Minerva Chair at the National Defense University's Institute of National Strategic Studies. Its energy potential is tied to its political trajectory, she said. There is no continuously upward production path. There is massive infrastructure damage after decades of war. Iraq's export pipeline capacity is limited, Natali said. She suggested that Baghdad is playing a risky game by emphasizing the country's southern resources, where produced crude must go through the Strait of Hormuz, instead of those in the north, where production could head west to the Mediterranean. Iran simply can't count on Iraq's not being able to overcome its challenges if it expects to regain its global customers, Vakshuri said. It needs to curb its domestic demand and reform its leasing and investment regimes, she maintained. Most of all, it needs to get the sanctions removed. Surprisingly, Iran has survived by exporting only 800,000 barrels a day. Not well, but it has survived, Vakshuri said. That's Watching Government for this week. In Washington, I'm Nick Snow for Oil and Gas Journal.